When it comes to living life, there's a lot to overthink, but I don't ever have to overthink my water. I've been drinking Smart Water for years and truly love its pure, crisp taste. It's vapor distilled through a process inspired by clouds. I love chic branding, and Smart Water's sleek bottle shape makes it the perfect accessory for any day bag, workout tote, or backpack. Smart Water is the smart way to hydrate no matter what you have going on in your life. Life is full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more.
Hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of you relaxing, because now you're managing diabetes with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. You get to know your glucose levels and where it's headed. Manage your diabetes with more confidence with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. Ready to learn more about the #1 prescribed CGM in the U.S.? Visit freestylelibre.us to learn more. Based on retail sales data for patients' last filled prescription by manufacturer. Refer to the FLAIR NL4 study published in BMJ Open Diabetes Research and Care 2019. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
This is Dr. Laurie Santos from the Happiness Lab. Many people have questions about how to improve levels of happiness. Living a healthy lifestyle is one sure way of increasing happiness. And a good place to start is with your oral health. Just a few small changes to your oral care routine, such as changing your toothpaste to Colgate Total, can lead to beneficial changes in your oral health. Colgate Total helps stop oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities before they start, because preventing oral health problems is a lot easier than treating them. Be dentist ready and get Colgate Total at shop.colgate.com/total.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Zoe.
And I'm Rodger Berman.
And you're listening to
Works for Us,
where we talk to people about what works for them in their relationships and, of course, what doesn't. Okay, so not to generalize, but the bond that sisters have for each other is pretty indescribable. I've said this before on the show, but my sister is pretty much my life, my best friend. Today's very special guests have a sisterly connection that is on another level, to the point where you may actually want to consider it a superpower, honestly. They are both award-winning journalists, because you know that happens between two siblings. Lisa and Laura Ling have always been aware that their line of work does not always guarantee safety. But when Laura was detained in 2009 while reporting a story near the Chinese-North Korean border and sentenced to 12 years of hard labor, Lisa sprung into action and did not stop until her sister was released. They detailed their experience in the 2010 memoir that they co-wrote together, Somewhere Inside: One Sister's Captivity in North Korea and the Other's Fight to Bring Her Home. Emotional, sorry.
Grab hold of yourself. You both are the bravest, most inspiring women who've truly proven how strong sisterly love can be. And we are certainly honored to have you on the show. Not only that, we've known you for so long that we really want to welcome you to Works for Us. Thank you for being here, Lisa and Laura Ling. And my wife is crying, so I'm going to take over the show.
I think people don't know this. Some of my friends here in LA don't know this. And I think some people have the same reaction as they did when Lisa and I first met. I was like, Lisa is one of my actual oldest friends, like basically from when I met you almost, babe. Like, we're talking over 20 years probably.
We've been friends for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From New York.
And it still amazes me how in love you two are. I mean, at the time, over 20 years ago, I'm like, how is it? These two they're so madly in love. And more than 20 years later, here you are.
Well, I'm an excellent actor.
Awesome.
Lisa. But I do want to say that from the very start, I think when people knew how close I was with Lisa and then Laura, they would say, really? They would always give me a head tilt. And I'd be like...
Is that because you're not known as most intellectual?
No, that's not.
Just wondering.
I think it's a combination.
A combination of what?
We have very different personalities and different lifestyles. But Rachel has always just been like the most loving, nurturing friend. And I mean, we would hang out every single night.
Literally.
It's not like we hung out infrequently.
No.
We hung out every single night.
Every single night.
the stories that we could tell offline, which we won't.
Later.
Are exactly. Would kind of continue to confuse a lot of people, but it was what it was.
But I do want to say, which brings us to today, and my fascination with both of you is that I think that the thing that I always say to people about you, and Laura would be, okay, we would meet up after like a night out, and hers would have been flying in from, I don't know, Korea, Uganda, like some prison somewhere. And I was coming in from like a Marc Jacobs fashion show, and we would just be talking, and she'd be like, all right, let's go to dinner. I'm like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, who are you? So that brings us to my continued fascination with both of you, because your sister bond is clearly like no other, but I think the thing about Works for Us is no matter what relationship we're talking about, we always like to start at the beginning. And I think the first question I want to ask is like, what was your childhood like?
I have a better question.
Oh, God.
Do you remember the first time you saw your sister?
What?
You mean after she was returned?
No.
Like in life?
Like in life. Like, how did they meet? Like,
I don't remember the first time I saw my sister in life.
No, but your sister would know that.
Oh, you're right.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, what? Like, she was brought home, like, what we were thinking. Like, oh my God,
that's an interesting question.
Like, this
that
sucks.
Is an interesting
like,
question.
All of a sudden, like, my life is, like, not all me.
I don't remember the first moment I saw her because I was only 3, but I do remember trying to pick her up and just hold her. I remember vividly and like smelling, that baby smell. Like I remember smelling my sister.
Yeah.
When she was a tiny baby, and there are photographs of me holding her, like lots of photographs. And when no one was looking, I remember going in and just holding her myself and just like doting on her, and I'm getting emotional now. And just like showering her with love.
Because you're like, she's mine.
That.
She's mine. Like, she's my baby now. Like, it's such an incredible thing.
My sisters both basically told my mother that I was like the ugliest thing they ever saw. Like, can you bring them back? I remember because they were like,
that sounds right.
It's so that was a feedback.
It sounds like hers was very opposite.
Yes,
well,
apparently.
I wasn't the cutest. I wasn't the cutest looking baby, but Lisa still had the love for me. But
you probably were adorable.
Going back to our childhood, we and the question, Rachel, about what it was like growing up. Our parents were immigrant families, and they worked all the time, and so I think that Lisa really did kind of take over this maternal role when it came to me. And so that image of her sort of sniffing my head, it actually says a lot about our relationship and how we've taken care of each other.
Yeah.
Got a divorce when I was 7 and Laura was 4.
Same as my sister.
I think that is another reason why I sort of felt like I had to take care of this little baby, this little girl. And I think where many siblings grow up having conflict or fighting with each other, having these jealousies, because my role was older sister, but also kind of strangely maternal at the same time. We never really had those issues. And I think as a result, we've just become closer than most siblings I know.
Sure. Like you felt like an overwhelming responsibility for her, basically. Not overwhelming in a bad way, but like more than a sibling. It wasn't just like, oh, she's my baby sister. It's like, I got her. It's,
no, it's like they raised each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just fiercely protective.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. I mean,
right,
Lisa is the maternal one, more immature one,
so,
right? Rachel, we know that.
Yeah, I know
There's role reversal. My sister and I all the time. It's all the time. Very often the baby kind of ends up babying the older one. I think later in life that does happen quite a bit, which is really funny. I do think, so it is ironic that you both kind of chose a very similar path in life, because my sister and I are so different. We are so close. Not that you aren't so different, but we definitely aren't attracted to the same thing. Like if you throw us the same thing, we'll both go a different way with with how we choose to either deal with it, tackle it. And obviously you guys are unique to yourselves, but it is really, you're the most like overachieving siblings I think I possibly know. I've never in my life.
Maybe they're so brilliant that they're actually underachievers.
Maybe. I know them too long. They're definitely not under. I mean, maybe.
Rachel,
I think
my
for
Virgo
an overachiever,
sister.
somewhat insulting.
Exactly, Lisa.
Someone insulting say you're an overachiever, I think. No?
Rachel, my Virgo sister, you are a bit of an overachiever. And like, I honestly, like, I really don't know many people who can juggle as many balls and work as hard as you do. So I think there's part of a Virgo thing to it. But, you know, for me, growing up in a suburb of Sacramento called Carmichael, there weren't a lot of Asians in our community at all. In fact, there were probably 5 in our whole school, 2 of whom had the same last name, ours. Oh, God. And you know, because our parents were divorced and always working, the TV was always on in our house. It was, you know, kind of our favorite babysitter. And I used to have these fantasies of somehow working in television so that I could, you know, we could have a better life one day. We didn't have a lot of money. Sure. But there was no one who looked anything like us on television except for Connie Chung.
I was going to say.
Everybody
was the only one.
Chung. She was the best.
Yeah. The best. And if you ask any Asian journalist of my generation, male or female, I would venture to guess that we will all say that our inspiration was Connie Chung because she allowed us to know what was possible. Wow. And so at a very young age, I was just set on trying to become like Connie Chung because, again, she was the only person who looked anything like me. And I was lucky enough to get a job working as a reporter when I was 18 years old for a show called Channel 1 News that was seen in middle schools and high schools.
I remember you.
I remember was that when Wendell ran that or something?
Yes. Chris Whittle, Whittle Communications ran it. Yeah. Oh my God. And that show sent me all over the world to places that in my wildest dreams, I would never, ever imagine going, like Afghanistan and Iran and Kazakhstan and Colombia and India and Iraq. All in my late teens and early 20s. And it became less about just wanting to be on TV and more about wanting to communicate stories to a bigger audience. And it was infectious. All I wanted to do was just be in the world and tell these stories. And I think for Laura, seeing my passion for this, and I mean, I was talking about it nonstop. It became infectious for her, just hearing me talk about my experiences and the things that I was seeing in the world. Right, Laura?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely followed in Lisa's footsteps. For Lisa and for me growing up, Connie Chung was the person that we all, you know, wanted to be. But for me, in some sense, I got to see my sister out there. Right. And I think that was inspiring for me and made it seem attainable. Yeah. Also, growing up in such a diverse community. I mean, I joke that I ended up at UCLA, the University of Caucasians lost amongst Asians. and so
that's
this whole
amazing. I never heard
and
that
it's so true, but it's so amazing because this world of diversity really opens up to you.
Sure.
And you're able to see a larger world outside of where you might have grown up and the stories that people have and just, as Lisa said, it became infectious in terms of wanting to explore a larger world and to share those stories with other people.
So I have two questions. Well, one, for something I just took away from that was so interesting was like, you know, when Kamala became vice president, you saw how so many girls said, now I know what's possible. And listening to you guys using Connie Chung as this role model, and she was the only one that you could see, and how it immediately gave you the confidence to know that you could do that. And had she not been there, you might have thought to yourself, oh, that's not a place that I could actually ever be in, right? So it just, to me, like, it's so amazing to hear firsthand, like, the impact that one amazing woman had on your life and drove you to want something because you could see it, right? So I thought that was so incredible. But the other thing is, as you guys are talking, and this is something I've always asked Lisa over the years, is, are you ever scared? Because I am a scared person, and like, I feel like you guys just don't have fear. Like, I mean, you're putting yourselves, well, we'll get into that later, but I mean, I just feel like when you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you're going into these very often dangerous places, like what's going through your head at that point? Because that is fascinating to me.
I don't know about Lisa, but I am scared all the time. And not just when I'm in a situation covering a story that might be in a risky situation or sensitive situation, but I do think that your fear helps to keep you safe.
Right.
Because you know lines that you shouldn't cross.
Right.
Now I know we will talk about a line I did cross.
Yes. Yes.
But generally I have always said that I'm not fearless. I'm actually very fearful. And that has been what has kept me safe for the most part in the past. But also I'm fearful of all sorts of things. Like when I do a lot of public speaking, I get nervous. I know Lisa doesn't. It becomes very effortless for her. But for me, I get nervous. I get butterflies. But that sort of helps me prepare more.
Sure.
So that
Yeah, it makes sense.
And for me, I mean, yeah, there have been moments in the field when I've been scared, absolutely. But I also have always just had this insatiable curiosity, and I want to just know what's going on. And I like to dig. And for me, my senses are heightened. And I'm not an adrenaline junkie by any means, but I love.
Sounds like there's a little bit of that you just said.
Debatable.
I love those moments where I'm just seeing something different and new. It makes me feel really alive. And I think we could go through our days just like in a perfunctory way where every day is the same. Like you barely remember what you did yesterday and the day before, and you meet the same people or you interact with the same people every day. And for me, the work that I do has allowed me to remember a lot of my days, and this desire to want to try and remember as many days or remember things that happened on as many days as I can is something that I've always really appreciated doing. And so for me, when I'm going out there into the world, even to places that are considered contentious or dangerous, it's when my senses are heightened and I feel most alive. And it's hard to compare that feeling to anything else.
Interesting.
Wow. So I'm the exact opposite. I try and forget almost every day. And for me, if it's just one big blur,
that is not true.
I'd be happy.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Back in my styling days, I was highly aware that all of my clients were unique and that each of them needed options that were chosen specifically for them. And let me tell you, what worked for one client and their individual needs was always vastly different than what worked for my other clients. BetterHelp takes the same approach when it comes to mental health. They know that therapy is definitely not a one-size-fits-all, and BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if you need. And to be clear, BetterHelp is professional counseling done securely online, and it's available for clients worldwide. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily to see the difference the incredible therapists at BetterHelp are making in people's lives. There are so many glowing reviews, but I'll read one for Dr. Sharon Bland Brady to give you an idea. The thing that stood out to me the most about Dr. Brady was how much she cared. I could tell she wasn't just doing a job as a therapist, but truly cared about me and my well-being. I believe it was her care that was the key ingredient to all the healing and progress I made while working with her. I honestly love that. You can really find someone who cares with this service. Visit betterhelp.com/works. That's better, HELP, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. And BetterHelp has a special offer for Works for Us listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/works. That's BetterHelp.com/works. I really don't even want to think about where I'd be without my team. I feel so incredibly fortunate to have found people who are the exact right fit for my company and for me. And if you're hiring, I want you to feel that way about your team too. But let's face it, hiring is not easy. And that's why it's so essential to get help in the process. If you're wishing that you had a hiring manager to step in and take over, I'd recommend using Indeed. Indeed is the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post, screen, and interview all on Indeed. Get your quality shortlist of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster. Only pay for the candidates that meet must-have qualifications, and schedule the complete video interviews in your Indeed dashboard. Indeed makes connecting with and hiring the right talent fast and easy. With tools like Indeed Instant Match, giving you quality candidates whose resume on Indeed fits your job description immediately, and Indeed skills tests that on average reduces hiring time by 27%. You can choose from more than 130 skills tests or add your own, then add your must-have requirements so you only pay for applications that meet them. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, which is pretty incredible. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Get started right now with a free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/whatworksforus. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/whatworksforus. Indeed.com/whatworksforus. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
It just sounds too picture perfect. Like she took care of her. She smelled her hair and her baby freshness. She got a job.
I believe it all.
Then, of course, she was inspired. Did you ever like go up for the same job and you're like, because
that bitch got it. No,
yeah, like what's up with that? Like, you have
not.
to have had that experience, a little competition. Come on, just tell me a little, like a little.
Rodger's looking for like a nugget,
just a little bit.
Laura, have you felt that way?
I mean, it is kind of disgusting in how supportive
it is
we've
that
been of
damn
each other.
picture perfect. That's why they wrote a book, Honey Bun. No,
I mean, Lisa and I have joked before that if we were on you've had this conversation, like if you were on a boat and your husband or your sister were drowning, who would you save?
Oh God, it's what's interesting.
Sorry,
someone
Raj.
asked me that question, and I actually I just walked away. I do remember someone asking me that because there was just like, those are the questions. You're just like, oh my God, there's no way to ever win this. Okay,
I think my husband knows that he should start swimming.
And that was the second part of that was
survive, right?
That was the second.
Roger will be fine.
That was the second part of that was another question I wanted to ask.
Okay, go.
I don't think it's something that you would ask, but for our, obviously this isn't. This is radio, more or less, podcast. So your husbands, do they look alike? Like, do you, because you're sisters and you both like journalism and you both still live in California, and I think...
No, husband's totally different.
Like, what's his story?
They're
and which husband's better? Like, which is, like, let's just lay it out there. Like, which one's better?
No, this is Rodger like making up this is like for his selfishness. He just
I
wants
don't even
to
know what you're
talking.
I'm just interested. Inquiring minds want to know.
That's so funny. So our husbands, they're both tall and fit guys. Both
obviously,
they
have to keep up with you guys.
You guys are very fit, by the way.
They climb mountains, like crazy mountains. Do you not follow them?
Well,
I forgot.
They're both older than us. Paul's 8 years older than me.
Smart.
And Ian's how much older than you, Laura?
10 years.
Smart.
And Laura's husband
smart.
is like
I'm saying
super.
No, the husbands are smart. Sorry, go on.
Oh my God, the husbands are insanely smart.
But they're smart for marrying younger women, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying I wasn't talking about their actual intellect.
Well,
okay.
Intellectually, they're way smarter than we are. Laura's husband is a mathematician.
Of course he is.
Of course.
Of course he is. Did you think
gotta,
anything else?
You have to see the books that he reads in his spare time. Laura, throw like a couple of the names of the books that he reads. I picked them up and I can't even understand a single sentence in the book.
Like prime obsession, it sounds really steamy and juicy, but it is about prime numbers.
You guys, I cannot wait to see your offspring. Like what happens? I mean, I literally can't even imagine.
Both of our husbands are total nerds, but they're kind of like,
but they're cool,
nerds. Kind of hot. Like
right.
Laura's husband is like this surfer, Australian, British,
oh my God.
tall, tan guy, mathematician.
How
and my
on
husband,
earth, Laura, can you write a book about that? Because I know a lot of girls that would like to meet a guy just like that. Actually, a surfing Aussie.
You have to hang out at math conferences.
Brilliant mathematician. That's insane. That doesn't exist, does it?
All right, I'm sorry I dumbed the show
He's
down
an
for
anomaly.
us.
He's an anomaly.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it.
Let's get to more serious topics.
Okay. All right. But in all seriousness, okay, so you guys have traveled obviously everywhere, pretty much, I would imagine. And obviously you've taken on insanely difficult, in my opinion, terrifying assignments. But in all honesty, Lisa, when you heard that Laura was going to do a story near the Chinese-North Korean border, like, were you nervous? Did you tell her not to go? Or were you like, I'm really jealous because I want to go? Because knowing you probably were like,
or
I'll
was
go
it just
with
like
you.
a run-of-the-mill story that you didn't think anything would happen?
Well,
I'm just saying,
I was, I was certainly curious about that story because we've both been fascinated by North Korea forever because the least is known about it. But when she told me about it, I wasn't concerned at all. I mean, keep in mind that Laura had just been in Mexico working on a story about all of the killings that were happening there, all the drug-related killings, like a couple of weeks ago. And I was terrified. And I was so mad that she went and did that because, she was in Ciudad Juarez, which is incredibly dangerous. And when she set off to go to China, there was never any intention to cross the China-North Korea border. She was just going to do a story on refugees who had crossed over into China. And so when I got that call from Laura's husband in the middle of the night saying that Laura had been detained by North Korean soldiers, I was like completely astounded and appalled.
So were you over the line or did they just come in and get you? Or hold on, were you just like, no one could see visually, but were you like, I'm here. You know when you play that game, you're like, I'm in this state. Nope, I'm in this state. Nope, I'm in this state. Nope, I'm in this state. Did you like do that and they just grabbed your leg?
Okay?
And they just grabbed your leg?
He hasn't eaten anything today yet, you guys. He's really hungry.
Like when you were over there, they just grabbed, like my son does that. Like,
okay, but this is different.
Okay, sorry.
Laura.
we did not play that game.
I kind of wish we did because it would have been different than what happened.
Yeah, but I mean, there was no intention to cross into North Korea. We were doing a story on North Korean defectors, primarily women who are trafficked out of North Korea from one horrible situation into another desperate situation into China. But that morning when we were on the Tumen River, which was frozen at the time, we did step foot onto that frozen ice. So that is a prime area for trafficking, especially during the winter when people do not have to wade across that water. They can walk across the ice. So it's sort of like prime season for trafficking. And while we were on that ice, our guide or our fixer who we had hired, who was local to the region, proceeded to walk across to the other side. And you have to remember that, while North Korea and South Korea have one of the most heavily fortified borders in the world, the border between North Korea and China is relatively porous. There's not your checkpoints. There's not even a line of really demarcation. It's the river that demarcates the border. And so our guide was motioning for us to follow him to walk farther across that ice. And we did. We did. We walked across. He pointed out a village on the other. Yeah, and he pointed out a village on the other side. We got a few shots. We turned around and we left. Was I nervous? Yeah, I was nervous, but I think that I might drop my guard.
Well, yeah, and Rodger, you said it. It was a paid guide who had worked with media before. Mm-hmm. All of us journalists who work overseas, we always hire fixers to help us. Yeah, right. So Laura and her team trusted the guide. But we have reason to believe that guide was actually getting paid by the North Korean government.
Of course.
I mean, Laura and her colleagues were working for a company that was co-owned by the former vice president of the United States, Al Gore. And so they knew that these were high-level targets who were on the border.
Well, listen, sure, there are those allegations, but I when I think about what happened, I just have to think about what I know. And what I know is that I dropped my guard. My instincts failed me. I chose to follow our guide. No one was forcing me to follow him. And sometimes you can take as many precautions. You can try to take all the precautions in the world, but in that moment, mistakes happen. I followed him, and we were walking back to the other side, and it was about halfway across when we heard soldiers running, and we turned around. There were 2 North Korean soldiers with their rifles raised. Eventually, they were able to apprehend me and my colleague when we were in China, and pretty violently beat us and drag us to the other side.
All right, I'm with Lisa, you shouldn't do these things anymore. I'm over them. I'm over it.
You guys are, I mean,
why don't
Laura,
you like cover like whether the zoning commission is going to approve a new park in Brentwood?
We don't want you to do this anymore. But here's the thing. But now you probably even want to do it more because that's just how you guys are built. And I think that's what makes you both just so, this is why I call you superpower, super women. And that was one of the many reasons we wanted to have you on, because you're 2 of the most fearless. You basically raised yourselves, and you just, what you accomplished by the daily, your relationship as sisters is unparalleled. And I think now, after what happened to Laura, I think, Lisa, obviously you'll stop at nothing, but how did you know how to get her out?
Yeah, you got this phone call. Can we go back to the story? This is a good story. Hold on. You got this phone call in the middle of the night. No, I do. You got this story in the middle of the night, and like, what'd you do? You're like, what do you do?
Well, I mean, it's a whole
thing.
Well, just like, just the cliff notes.
But the first thing that I did was I called my mom, because my mom speaks Mandarin Chinese, and we knew that we had to get in touch with the Chinese embassy, because again, we didn't know anything about what happened. Her husband told me that she had been abducted by North Korean soldiers and was in North Korea, but I believed that, I always thought she was just going to be in China. So it was just a harrowing few months. And because North Korea is a country with which the United States has absolutely no relationship, you can't just pick up the phone and call them to try and negotiate the release. Of course. You have to interact with intermediary countries in order to communicate to get messages, right? And so we had to use the Swedish embassy in North Korea. So we would send packages. We would try and communicate with the ambassador to try and get messages to Laura and to her captors. And this went on for months. And what complicated the situation even more is that I had actually reported inside North Korea undercover a couple of years before. And so...
Way to go, Lise.
I know. Like, who would have ever thought that my sister, I was already persona non grata in that country.
Oh my God, Lisa.
So Laura, though, convinced her captors after months of there not being any movement, that if her captors, if Laura were allowed to get in contact with me, we could try to make something happen, meaning that given the delicate relationship between the US and North Korea, we could somehow navigate like a media strategy and figure out how to do this in a way that allows North Korea to look like they won. We're showing mercy, right? That there would be no like loss of face for the North Koreans. Sure. And so that's kind of like the plan that was hatched, that we meticulously sort of orchestrated from 2 different continents over the course of a couple of different phone calls.
Whoa. And then another one of my heroes, our heroes, who we were lucky enough to see get inaugurated actually when we were in college. Former President Bill Clinton.
You can call him president.
I guess you still call him president. Title for life. Well, hoping someone doesn't have that title for life. But, President Bill Clinton ended up, which is like almost sounds right out of a dream. actually ended up traveling to negotiate your release as a humanitarian mission. So, I mean, that is, I mean, you guys have a story to tell. Laura, you have your children and your grandchildren. Yes, but this is something that like your kids, I mean, you know, Skylar's been through a bunch of things, just whatever. And the first thing people say is, well, you have a great essay to write in school. Your kids, your grandkids.
For our listeners who forgot, they did document this harrowing story in Somewhere Inside, one sister's captivity in North Korea and the other's fight to bring her home. I'm sure
definitely not another book like this.
I'm sure you could buy it on all sorts of
More importantly,
hold on, no,
Netflix.
Where's the movie?
This should be a Jinx.
Hold on, who's
Lisa,
representing you?
Laura?
That's what I want to know. Who's representing the movie rights?
They have people.
Obviously.
Laura, you can answer that.
You know, when I came home, writing the book
cathartic.
Was super
sure.
cathartic. It was just to be able to document that in my own words with my sister, because, you know, Lisa knew what was happening on the other side. I didn't. And so for us to do that together after being separated in this way, we would write on laptops on our couch with a blanket covering like both of our legs as we would write.
Or wine. Or vodka.
Yeah, lots of it.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really, you know, special and cathartic time. But that's sort of where I wanted to tell the story in that medium and in some sense close that chapter.
I understand.
Yeah, and so we were able to do that. I'm really glad that we did. But I don't really feel like it needs to be told in any other
or another way
medium.
of saying it. I just think another way of saying it, the offer hasn't been high enough. I just think let's just cut through it. I mean, okay, if someone says, you know, $100 million for the story, you're going to be like,
stop.
Let's retell it.
Lisa,
detail
what were you going to say?
Sorry.
Well, what I was going to say is I do hope people read it because, you know, like when you think about North Korea, right, you think about what the people are like and the conditions that they have to live under. But you know, Laura actually got a pretty unique window into that world. Sure. And I hope people will read it because her interactions with normal people or with that system, I think are very telling of what that country is like.
Sure.
Sounds like a place I don't want to go.
No, you definitely don't want to go.
Yeah. I also tried to really highlight the moments of humanity that I experienced between two people that are very different, two countries that are considered enemies, and to be able to break down some of those barriers, those preconceived notions that both sides have, and to, in some sense, you know, communicate and see the humanity that we both share. I really wanted to make sure that came out.
Wait, Rodger, you would, if you had an opportunity and you were guaranteed that you wouldn't be detained or held captive, you wouldn't want to see what that country was like?
By now, most of us understand the importance of using natural products in our homes. But where do you even find them? Don't you wish there was someone who would curate all of the highest quality, natural, non-toxic, and sustainably sourced items you need? Introducing Grove Collaborative. Grove is the online marketplace that delivers healthy home, beauty, and personal care products directly to you. If you've been wanting to transition into using natural products in your life, Grove Collaborative is the easiest, best way to do exactly that. Grove Collaborative takes the guesswork out of going green. Browse the site for thousands of home, beauty, and personal care products, all guaranteed to be good for you, your family, your home, and of course, the planet. As you may know, we recently added our new puppy, Goldie, to our family. And while she's so sweet and snuggly, I have now added puppy products to my shopping list. I love using Grove to buy her new treats and toys. And during her house training, I've had to use the Grove carpet and upholstery stain remover more times than I actually want to even talk about. With Grove, you don't have to shop multiple stores or search endlessly online to get all the natural goods you need for you and your family. It's truly amazing that I can find so many high-quality natural products in one place. Join over 2 million households who have trusted Grove Collaborative to make their homes happier and healthier. Making the switch to natural products has never been easier. Plus, shipping is fast and free on your first order. For a limited time, when my listeners go to grove.co/Lindsay, grove.co/Zoe, you will get to choose a free gift with your first order of $30 or more. But you have to use our special code. Go to grove.co/Zoe to get your exclusive offer. That's grove.co/ZOE. Remember, grove.co/Zoe. I've been asked so much lately what I think the future of fashion will look like post-pandemic. And honestly, I think it looks different for everyone. I truly believe that personal style should be centered around what makes you feel the most confident, whether that's skinny jeans or flares. You just do you. But if you're looking for a convenient solution to fashion and shopping, you absolutely need Stitch Fix in your life. Stitch Fix offers clothing hand-selected by expert stylists for your unique size, style, and budget. It's a completely different and fun way to find clothes that you will love to wear. Every piece is chosen for your fit and your life, and it's the easy solution to finding what makes you look and feel your absolute best. A service like Stitch Fix works so well for someone like Rodger because he never has the patience to shop. He loves how quick and easy the process is. Try on pieces at home before you buy, keep only what you love, and return what you don't. Stitch Fix has free shipping, easy returns and exchanges, and a prepaid return envelope is included. There's no subscription required. You can try Stitch Fix once or set up automatic deliveries. You'll pay just a $20 styling fee for each box, which gets credited towards pieces you keep. And I'm telling you, for a service that's this customized, that is a steal. And there are no hidden fees ever. This is genius. Stitch Fix has styles and clothing to fit any occasion for women, men, and kids. So if you have kids or husbands that don't like to shop, like me, Stitch Fix will help them get it together. Stitch Fix ships all over the US and they're available in the UK as well. So get started today at stitchfix.com/Zoe and you'll get 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. That's stitchfix.com/Zoe for 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. stitchfix.com/Zoe. I love how she poses that to Rodger rather than me.
Well, because you
already
said
knows my answer.
She knows
me long enough.
Yeah, but what she doesn't know is she doesn't know me that well. You know what? I would do a day trip. And the reason why is I'm really not looking to get pinned down, what am I doing that night? The hotels are probably not really very good. I want marble bathrobes.
Marble bathrobes or bathrobes?
Marble bathrooms.
He's basically saying, Lisa, he might be a little fancy at this point in his life. His Days of Dead shows on,
I would go to the. So I think my answer is I'd absorb it for a little while, but I do not have that desire. I really don't. And I don't know why. I guess I'm like a heathen or a simpleton or something like that, which is fine.
No, you actually he had two really horrifying, things happen that involved children this year where he ended up.
Has nothing to do with it.
No. But what I'm saying about.
Don't scare anyone.
No.
Horrifying things.
No. Horrifying where he was put in a situation. I think what I realized is both of us, we conflict is something that you guys kind of have this, I think an absolutely unparalleled desire to almost run towards conflict and learn about it, try and solve it, you just have a constant
I'm much more
thirst
lazy
for that.
I'm much lazier.
I think it's different. I think that you're a very curious person. You are a very...
I am, but I'm very into self-preservation. And literally, I'm being
You're not
serious.
that into self-preservation.
No, I mean,
Let's
listen,
be serious.
I'm
different.
Listen, the reality is of course it's super interesting. I guess where I get my,
He wants to watch you do this.
No, it's not that. It's at the end of the day, this is how, it's intellectually stimulating for them. That's why they're doing it, right? It's something that they're doing it because it's, yeah.
Well, for me, it's just this intense curiosity. And I will go, now with kids, we're less inclined to do things that's the people might consider really crazy, but I want to go everywhere. I want to see everything. I want to experience it all. And
I'm so envious of that.
I want to
we only have one life,
South of France, Amalfi, most of the Amman resorts.
No, but the truth is, I do want to say to that, he's obsessed with watching things like what you're doing. And that's the difference.
Learning.
Like he wants to learn. He wants to be there. He wants
All I
to
do is
watch
watch documentaries.
And really like very real things, like the things that you guys do and cover and seek and whatever. And I think, but there's a difference between people who actually do it and people who actually watch it.
Right, Rachel, you might find this interesting. In one of my conversations with my guards, we think of North Korea as being such a closed off place, but information does seep through. And my guards, they were really curious to know about like fashion in the US. And they said, they asked me, do you wear blue jeans? Because we're not allowed to wear blue jeans in North Korea, but they thought that they would look pretty good on
men or women.
Women.
Wow.
And so again, there's those common moments of humanity that we shared that had nothing to do about politics.
Did they speak English? How did
you got to meet my friend Rachel.
How did you communicate?
There was always a guard assigned to me that spoke at least a little bit of English.
Yeah. And when I was in North Korea, I had smuggled in a fashion magazine from China. I didn't intentionally smuggle it in. It was in my bag.
Right.
And one of my escorts said to me, do not take that out of your bag because we don't want North Koreans to see that and give them ideas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like a Chinese Vogue.
Yeah, last week they just created like more no internet. They're going the other way. North Korea
they're trying hard to close off the country more than ever, so people don't get ideas.
Yeah, it's nuts. So I envision. Have you ever guys seen About a Boy when they come in the airport and they like get you reunited and they're playing that music?
Are you thinking of Love Actually?
Maybe it's Love Actually.
It's Love Actually. And that happy, and the whole opening and then the ending when everybody's like greeting their loved ones in the airports, the families, the couples. So Rodger wants to know, we want to know your reuniting moment.
Did you have to fly like a million jets? Like, did you get like a military jet sent to you? Laura, were you flown out in
now Rodger's in the movie, you guys.
Oh my God,
He's in the
were you
movie.
flown out in a military jet or like an Apache helicopter?
No, it was actually a donated plane from Steve Bing, who recently passed away. Wow. Who was gracious enough to donate his plane.
Sort of reading that.
Yeah. And because this was, even though it was approved by the Obama administration, it had to be a purely private trip. And
it didn't have to be, but we just didn't want taxpayers to pay a cent of the bill. And so Steve Bing so generously, he was very close friends with President Clinton, donated his plane for President Clinton and his team to go into the most isolated country in the world.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so when we returned, the plane landed at Burbank Airport. And it was the happiest time of my life to be able to see my family face to face. It was also pretty overwhelming. Yeah. So I was, all of a sudden there were, dozens and dozens of news reporters waiting to hear from us. And I had gone to report on a story, and then to become the story was very difficult. But obviously, seeing my sister, my family was the happiest moment in my life. I also saw how much stress. I could see how much my parents had aged. I could see a certain blank look in my dad's eyes that I just felt responsible for.
And we hadn't seen Laura for 5 months. And even if you get incarcerated in a prison here in the United States, like you can get visitors, right?
Yeah, of course.
We had no clue what kinds of conditions she was staying in. Like we had no idea that she was beat up. She got a rifle butt to the head, 5 months before we saw her. So we had no clue. So we didn't know what kind of condition she was in. So obviously when she and her colleague, descended the steps of the plane, we were like so relieved to see that they looked fine, very pale. They hadn't seen the light of day literally in 5 months, but they looked like they, were okay.
Well, this is a very good sisterly bond story, because on the plane ride back, Lisa had sent a package with President Clinton and his team, and in there were tweezers. And it was like, thank you.
Thank you. Of course.
Yeah, that's so cute.
I love you so much. See, that's my girl. This is why we're friends.
Exactly.
One of the reasons. We got to take care of our people. But you guys are both mothers, your wives, you're incredible. Tell me about your kids, because obviously I'm sure your kids are very close to each other, right? So Laura, you have a boy and a girl.
Yes, I have an 11-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son.
And your son, my little one is Caius or Kai. And
that's right.
Also born
That's right.
December. Yeah. He's born December 22nd, 2013. And yours, I think I read, is 18, right?
Just a few days. Yes, just a few days older.
And I love his middle name.
And Ling, yes, had to have a Ling in there.
Her older daughter, her name is Lee Jefferson Clayton. And the Jefferson is William Jefferson Clinton's middle name.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But the Lee actually, so her first name Lee is after my sister, because I always call Lisa Lee. And then L and I, so it's just spelled L and I, which L for Laura, I for Ian, my husband. So there's a lot of meaning in her name. But I don't want to discount, President Clinton, we referred to him as our rescuer in chief, but Vice President Al Gore, who was my boss at the time and the co-founder of Current TV, the cable channel that I worked for at the time, was so hugely instrumental. And he worked behind the scenes, tirelessly to help bring us home. And so I felt a little awkward when he called me to congratulate me on Lee's birth. And he said, I love her middle name. And I just said, Albert just doesn't have the same name.
No, not so much.
So grateful to Vice President Gore.
I cannot wait to see what else. I don't even know what else you guys could do in this life, but I'm sure you're going to blow us away in a million other ways. But I also can't wait to see what your children do.
Well, Rachel, and you and Rodger will get to know my kids because they're all going to be at the same school.
I know. We're all going to the same school.
Our listeners should know that Lisa and I'm not going to say what school, but I would say that her life goes in this massive circle sometimes. And Lisa and I, who met in New York, then 20-something years later found each other again in LA, and now our children will be in the same school and we will actually be school parents together, which for me is like one of the greatest things ever. Because
Rachel, you'll love my eldest because she's all about fashion. And in fact, today,
has anyone seen her artwork? I think Larry Gagosian needs to do an exhibition.
No, it's funny because today it was her first day of tennis camp. And I got her this little tennis outfit. And the moment she put it on, she's like, I can do this. She quit Taekwondo because she hated the outfit. But tennis, she was like, oh, I can do this. So
That's
you're going
amazing.
you and my eldest daughter are going to.
I cannot wait because I kind of mooch off everyone else's daughters. So,
So other than, all this journalism stuff you do, what do you guys do for fun?
What's actually not like
what do you do? Do you guys go away and
what's super fun?
Do you go to sister trips to Cabo?
No, Punta Mita.
There you go.
Fair.
I knew. I felt a Mexico sister
And what
trip.
happens? Do you shut down and
or do you go
have
with your
fun?
families? Or do
we take our families. I mean, we drink a lot.
Good.
And we take our families because our families just, our kids are best friends and love each other. So yeah, we like to take a lot of trips together. In fact, we were just together over the weekend in Sacramento visiting our dad. And even though we really didn't do anything, we had the best time.
So fun.
And I mean, Laura and I, we probably talk on the phone about 5 times a day, even if we're just saying nothing.
By the way, it's what I said to Rodger. It's what my sister and I do.
That's what your sister
hey, how you doing?
Do.
Good. How are you?
No, exactly. I said to Rodger, it's so funny. I don't even know what we talk about. It's I get in the car and I'm like, hey, hi, what? Okay, I'm on my way here. Okay, bye, I'll call you later. What? Okay, what just happened? Nothing.
That's what we do multiple times a day. Yeah, but we usually take every year, a couple trips together.
Okay, so
I think we should go to our game show.
I think we should. All right, guys. So we're gonna let you guys go back to your insanely insane lives,
productive lives,
insanely insane productive lives. Okay, so this is a little bit like Newlyweds, except with sisters. So, which you guys will probably answer it better than Newlyweds, quite frankly. But it's basically you answer for each other. Okay. So, Lisa, what would be Laura's last meal?
Probably my mom's soup, some kind of soup.
Okay.
She's like a soup girl. Yeah.
Laura, what would Lisa's be?
Oh, Lisa's would be something super spicy, like spicy Hunan.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Chinese
Sichuan.
food.
Rodger's just really
Szechuan.
happy.
I'm so
Rodger's
into
definitely
it.
ordering that tonight.
All right, so I'm going to ask a question.
Is it your favorite?
Well, it is kind of
I kind of
fun.
want to ask.
Oh, you can ask that one. It's fine. I'll ask more of a whatever. Okay, Lisa, if you were to argue with your sister, what would it be about?
That she's not spending enough time with me. That when she comes to LA, she goes and hangs out with her other friends.
Ooh.
See? Sisters. This is the same thing. That's so funny.
That was an argument that we got
That's
into because I didn't spend every second with
Lisa's
Lisa.
a Virgo. We're very much alike.
Yes, Rachel gets pissed off if Pamela doesn't
guilt
spend
trip.
24/7 with her. It's like,
Didn't
whoa.
I take care of you your whole life?
I love it.
But the other argument that we got into was who was going to pay the bill because Lisa is always paying the bill. And I think we almost got into a punching match because I tried to pay the bill.
It's like an older sibling thing,
it
I
almost
think.
got
It
physical.
is. I'm the big sister. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Okay, this one I already know, but I'm still going to ask it for our listeners. Okay. Who would be more hungover after a wedding?
Probably Laura because I can hold my alcohol better now.
There you go.
During the pandemic, I
sure.
slam it every night. So
Yep.
I have developed a pretty high tolerance.
Me
so I
too.
would definitely say Laura.
I think everyone has, Liz.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
All
would
right, so
agree.
one of our fan favorites is if Lisa was arrested, what would it be for? We kind of already know yours, but you'll have to think of another one.
Yeah,
But Lisa,
exactly.
you're going to have to think of another one for Laura, okay?
I mean, I think Lisa's is probably, being at some social justice movement.
Like a sit-in, like getting arrested in a sit-in?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Sounds about right.
Okay, other than crossing borders, what would Laura be arrested for?
Probably some kind of like temper tantrum related thing because she
Like at an
definitely
airport or
Like
something?
yelling at TSA for no apparent reason?
Yeah,
That's
she has
me.
kind of an explosive temper, and whenever she kind of loses it, my retort is always like, "Well, you could be in North Korea." And she's like, "Oh yeah, good point.
She must
good
love
point."
that.
You can literally use that forever, by the way. You're going to take
Forever.
that to
For
the grave, by the
everything.
way.
You're right.
Oh my
and
God.
I do.
Well, I love that we can look back on it now. And I love that you guys are living the most beautiful lives and you're both brilliant, courageous, fearless.
And they both look so
siblings.
young.
I know.
Jesus
They're always kind of. I
Christ.
literally saw Lisa. I was like, I don't understand. You look the same as you did when I met you. I'm so confused.
It's so true.
Look
What
who's
happened?
talking.
Oh, stop.
By the way, I have a picture of us from 20 years ago. I need to find
Please
it because we
send
had
Send it.
Yeah, I'll give you photo approval first, of course.
Oh, please.
But I'll send it to you. I think Sam's in it, Nicole's in it.
I
some of
need
our-
that
our-
picture.
Our old homegirls.
I need that. I need that. Oh, God. Life
Yeah,
is simple.
we get a bunch of pictures
Life is
now and then.
simple. All right. Well, I love you guys madly. Laura, I'm so happy you're here, alive, happy, healthy, married to like a gorgeous, smart surfer and have two beautiful children. And Lisa, there's no one that I would want to come in and try and save me from wherever I was stuck behind the curtain at a fashion show in the back of God knows where. But
We expect to
got
be
you.
saved. Yeah, we expect to be saved in school next year. So you need to navigate us through
I got you. I got your
through
back.
the inevitable minefields that private school in Los Angeles
all
is
right,
inevitably.
my favorite fearless sisters. I love you both madly.
Thank you so
Thank you for,
much
for
for
being
Thank
on
you
Works for Us.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Love you both too.
What do I even say about what? Can you imagine if you were like the mom and dad of Lisa and Laura Ling and just like, what do you, hey, like, what, like,
No,
they're like,
I mean, you won't even let Skylar play flag football.
I'm okay with flag, just not regular football.
Yeah, but you don't really want them. Didn't you tell me you didn't want bike riding because we're going away and you don't
Listen,
want to get hurt?
do you know what?
I'm like, Rachel, it's bike riding.
Can I just tell you something? You know, all is fun and games until like all of a sudden, remember when Skylar's best friend ended up in the hospital like the first month of COVID and had like 20 pins in his arms.
I know,
and like,
but you can't. They're
you
boys.
can't. Yes. And I don't keep them in a bubble, although I'd like to. I'd love to have them in full metal gear at all times. But still, until they're 18, I would like to really try and, limit their risk as much as possible. But I feel like with Lisa and Laura, it's like, what do you even, because what they're doing is so incredible. It's like, I think as a parent, you're sort of like, okay, don't want you to go, but at the same time, I'm so proud of you.
Well, they got to be incredibly proud.
That's what I'm saying. It's conflicting. It's like, I don't know, just from where I sit, like I'd be the proudest parents ever, but at the same time, I would probably never close my eyes, because I'd be terrified of where they are. And, you have to admit, like, as a dad, like, I don't care what you say, you would be much more neurotic and terrified if you had a daughter going into these places
100%
versus your son. It's just human nature, I think.
100%. But even, we were talking about when Jeff and Ingrid were on the program. He's a race car driver.
I know.
And same thing, how do you deal with that fear every time?
I know.
And I think it's a similar thing. It's just part of the job, maybe. I don't know. It's not for me, as we talked about. I'm thinking south of France and, southern Italy.
But I will say this. When you talk to them, I think like really hearing what motivates them and what actually inspired them to start for me was like, just like I was glued to everything they were saying.
Yeah. And honestly, it's sort of like, it goes back to, it's almost like your career age. You're really good at it because you really loved it and really, were obsessed with, getting the best dress, having the best, image out there for your clients. And in a weird way, they're obsessed with that story and that learning and that everything. And they're not, it's funny. They're not doing it for anyone else.
No,
if they were,
that's my point.
If they were, then they probably wouldn't be that good at it and they probably wouldn't risk what they're risking, but they're kind of doing it because they want to know themselves. They're self-motivated.
That's what I'm saying. Their intellectual curiosity is like...
knows no bounds.
Knows no bounds.
Or it's called boundless.
It is, but I will say this. I think even especially over COVID and over the last couple of years, like you're watching these journalists go into these territories. And I know even since I was little, I used to be like, wait, how are they safe in that zone? Or even when we have these crazy fires here and you see the journalists reporting and there's like a fire 50 feet behind them and you're like, get out of there. It's the same thing. So I actually am incredibly even more blown away, having known prior to talking to them, having known them for a million years, having been close with Lisa for so long, having known how kind of regular human she is off duty. I think it's incredible how you can go from being like mom dropping kids at school and having dinner and some cocktails to like, I'm flying to Afghanistan tomorrow.
It's got to be hard. It's got to be hard for the family. If they're still regularly going on assignment, it's rough.
So that was definitely one of my favorites. Because I love learning. And I also, talk about a sister bond that really knows no bounds. And you know what I loved about it the most?
What, sweetheart?
That they both said that their husbands are very clear that they'd have to survive themselves if their sister or their brother if their sister or their husband fell off the boat, who would they go to save? And they're like, oh, our husbands are pretty clear. They're on their own. I was like, wow, I love you guys. Anyway, okay. So if you liked what you've heard so far, if you loved this episode or any of our episodes as much as we have, please make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts and give us a rating and review. And of course, keep listening. And check us out on our Instagram on @works.for.us. Or call and share your story or ask us a question. If you want to share your own story or ask us a question, leave us a message at our new Works For Us hotline, 657-549-2251, and we might just share your story or answer your question on the show. Well, we always want to leave you with a little highlight and low light from our week. And in relationships, the bad comes with the good. So this is our time to mention a little bit of both those things.
My low light for the week is I feel like before we go away, you You lose your sanity?
I lose my sanity? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
Why don't you ask the children or anyone in this house who was witness to the fact that, okay, everyone, listen up. My husband... This is my low light. Are we going to share this low light? Hold on, group low light? 6 30-inch.
No.
That would be the largest size suitcase for those of you that don't know, but you are not allowed larger than 30 inches.
Sweetie, you're so wrong.
And took 6.
No, I didn't.
6
I didn't.
for the summer. Yep, 6 for the Hamptons. In the past, I would like you to know that as he exploded about how much stuff I packed.
Can you say exploded again?
Exploded. When I say exploded, I have to say it like that because it's like the roof comes off the house for those of you that have never had the pleasure of hearing Rodger lose his mind. But basically, for the last, 20 summers, I have had to have at least 3 temper tantrums on the way and from the Hamptons of how much I've overpacked. But here's the highlight.
But you
hold on.
You threw the temper tantrums all week. I've been fine.
I'm actually so calm and quiet. But here's the thing. The low light is that you took 6 of the biggest suitcases that are hard-sided and they're protective of clothing. Lying. And can I tell you something? No, I know for a fact.
I'll send you photos.
I know for a fact. I know. I double confirmed with 2 other people.
No, it's not the large one.
I just want everyone to know that he apparently feels that his hoodies and his T-shirts and his 18 pairs of Uggs and sneakers need to be really protected in the best suitcases more than my vintage long full-length gowns from the 40s, the 60s, the 70s. Really, there's nothing you can say.
Rachel,
but here's the highlight.
I'm a second-class citizen.
You are.
She basically I get better luggage than you. You get crap.
Why don't we survey husbands and wives?
You get crap.
Why don't we survey husbands and wives? Wives get better luggage.
This sounds a lot like bickering now. And I just want to say,
okay, I didn't finish my highlight. Okay, so my highlight of this is the best. And only a few of you on the inside can appreciate this.
What?
But the best thing is, he cannot utter a word the entire summer on the to or the from or the packing or the moving or any of the schlepping about how much I overpacked. Because you have packed 50% of the overpack this time. Normally, he's 20%. Then you can have an argument. So my highlight is, yep, I'm going to have a great summer.
I mean, there's just no rebuttal. She's just the worst person of all time.
She said 6? He's never done 6.
They're not the large ones, for the record. And I kept all my hangers in this time, which I never do. So they're hugely bulky. But then I'll unpack real quick. What about my highlight, Rachel? Am I going to do my highlight alone? I guess so. No, my highlight is that my wife just walked out of the room and I'm here in peaceful, quiet bliss. This is really my show, damn it. I'm taking over. She thinks that she's better than me, but no. I will prevail. Yes, I will prevail.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. So I know we've already talked about prioritizing mental health in this episode, but I really cannot say it enough. There's no need to feel ashamed, and if you want to try therapy and are curious if it might make a difference for you, the support you need is absolutely in reach because of BetterHelp. BetterHelp is so convenient and easy to start. You can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. You don't have to try to fit an in-person therapy session into your busy routine. And remember, BetterHelp is committed to finding a therapist who's the right fit for you. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Works For Us listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/works. So don't wait. Visit betterhelp.com/works and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional.
This is Dr. Laurie Santos from the Happiness Lab. Many people have questions about how to improve levels of happiness. Living a healthy lifestyle is one sure way of increasing happiness. And a good place to start is with your oral health. Just a few small changes to your oral care routine, such as changing your toothpaste to Colgate Total, can lead to beneficial changes in your oral health. Colgate Total helps stop oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities before they start. Because preventing oral health problems is a lot easier than treating them. Be dentist ready and get Colgate Total at shop.colgate.com/total.
Imagine relying on a dozen different software programs to run your business, none of which are connected, and each one more expensive and more complicated than the last. It can be pretty stressful. Now, imagine Odoo. Odoo has all the programs you'll ever need, and they're all connected on one platform. Doesn't Odoo sound amazing? Let Odoo harmonize your business with simple, efficient software that can handle everything for a fraction of the price. Sign up today at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
This is it. We've got an Amex Platinum Pro on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't seen anyone relax like this before in the Centurion Lounge. Is he connecting to complimentary Wi-Fi? Oh, my! Look at that! He is! And you will not believe where he's going next. The Amex dedicated card member entrance for the win. Unbelievable.
When you get travel perks with Amex Platinum, you're part of the action. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.